world. It's like the third world.
Totally.
Not only in distance, but in culture.
Culturally, yeah, I was gonna say. It's
Yeah,
like,
wow.
I mean, I could see that they would look at it that way because our culture is pretty messed up over here.
Yeah, it's
Don't
messed up in
take too
certain
hard.
ways. You also appreciate certain things about it. I tell you, when you travel a lot,
Oh, sure.
you're kind of like, I mean, I'm sure you know where you're like, why can't they figure out sewers? I don't know.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
God, that's on the recording there.
Oh, yeah.
I derailed this conversation.
No, it's good. It's all meant to be.
Well, maybe I'm just throwing the seed out there.
Yeah, a
Maybe
little
ready to go
seed
to
up
college.
front.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
that sounds amazing. I don't know
Yeah,
why, but
next
I
time you plan.
yeah, this guy that you're talking about, it seems like someone I'd like to meet. He seems
Yeah,
pretty cool.
he's someone
Especially
everyone
since he's
cool would
Russian.
like to meet.
That's
He
like
speaks
the cherry on
perfect.
top.
Yeah, exactly.
But, I mean, the stories of the way he came to like this high, like way of life, Krishna consciousness, and his life is also completely magical.
And he joined
like,
when he was like 14.
I mean, he was
He's in
born
his
in
50s
Russia,
now,
and like
so
ever
it's
since he
How
was
old
like
is he? 50?
He's in his 50s,
50s,
but like he joined when he was 14.
Wow.
So it's like how many chapters of what,
That's
and he was
crazy.
funny. He also shared when he was like 2 or 3. He said, "I knew immediately that I was going to leave Russia."
Wow.
And he was
he was
very
like
young.
6 years old, and he's just like, I am not staying here.
Wow.
It was like St. Petersburg area
Wow.
originally. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, you'll
How
probably
long
meet
do you
him.
guys go out there for? Like
We
several
usually
weeks?
go for a couple
We
weeks.
usually go minimum 2 weeks, but then I don't know. We're thinking about. I started a business there last year
Oh,
in terms of like the structural way of like setting up the bank accounts and the
Mhm.
government paperwork and all that.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Sure.
So I'm also thinking about potentially like doing some business stuff there. So
Cool.
I don't know. It might be 2 weeks.
Is it the dome thing or no?
No. Just we'll just keep doing the Airbnb.
Oh, cool. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
We're gonna do
See what the Lord wants.
yes.
Okay. Then maybe we could sing a couple of tunes.
All right. We're live, by the way.
This whole thing has been like.
Oh
Well, maybe you can just chop it.
Do I give you one carton?
Sure. Small
The big-
ones.
the
Small
big
ones.
ones?
No.
So the festival
Not when there's
that
only a
we
few of us.
refer to as a Vaishnava festival in Thailand. And just talking
Choose.
about some of our friends who live there.
Gracias.
Bueno.
Testimony.
Con amor.
Good thing we're sitting on the edge.
I mean, it's kind of amazing. Honestly, there's the most amazing people. Is all these devotees come from Europe,
There's Latvian
other
devotees
parts of
coming every
Asia,
year.
and
It's awesome.
it's actually awesome. We
And
go
there's
like
Australian devotees every
through
year.
the jungle and do like a walk through the jungle, and like I mean, it's actually like
It's awesome.
Is
like
this
it's
in the
actually
mountains?
Yeah.
it's right like he lives in like a little valley, and then the mountains kind of come up behind there, and they're just thick jungle.
Yeah.
Cool.
Like we've one of the it wasn't last year, but the year before that, there was, I mean, just so beautiful, absolutely gorgeous, wild golden Burmese python,
Oh yeah.
like right on the land, and it was like right by like we were having a little thing. So then Krishna Priya's wife, she's Thai. Her dad used to be like a general in the Thai army. So the dad comes out, and like, the brother and like a few of us, and we're like, I'm like literally got this Burmese python by the tail, and it's gorgeous, it's golden with these black shapes on it. And the Thai people consider the golden pythons to be like, representing a higher energy.
Yeah,
So
it's
they're like
nagas.
very respectful to it, but in the same time we kind of pulled it out and bagged it and took it up into the jungle. But I mean, it was like, just stuff like that where you're just like, how can I even be doing this?
Jeremy's
Yeah.
like,
Wow.
this is so cool. And he's like videotaping like 7 men. Like, I mean, those things are just
Oh,
pure
I-
muscle.
Oh,
right.
It's like,
So
it was
strong.
hours because it burrowed its way. And what happened was one of the groundskeepers was weed whacking, and he accidentally hit it. And immediately he drops his like weed whacking to it. And he didn't injure it badly, but he did whack it a little.
Uh-huh.
He like drops to his knees, and he's like, goes like
Oh,
this,
apologies, yeah.
because they have respect, and then all of a
Right.
sudden there's like 6 men, and it's like hours.
it
I mean,
was
they were
unbelievable.
just like
It goes
pouring
into this
sweat.
little
Just
hole.
fighting, yeah.
It went into this little hole, like about this big, squeezed its way in there, then expanded its muscles and made a chamber in the ground for itself, and then shrunk back down, and then just coiled tight. And we could not pull it out. We had like digged all the ground
How
out.
long do you think it was?
I would say it was at least like 15 to 20 feet. Like it was huge.
Yeah.
It was huge, and it was really like honestly,
It was thick, right?
It's really scary. Like I mean, it's kind of, when you feel that kind of power, it's just something in nature where you're just like, I'm weak. I'm like this little like pink bag of softness. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm like I mean, you recognize like there are things that are
This
like
is a
powerful.
predator, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the prey right now, yeah.
Oh,
Crazy.
my God.
Without technology, I would be just prey.
Some humility.
Huh?
Some humility lesson.
Yeah, a little
Yeah.
humility and anyways, everything's alive. Jai Mahal.
Jai.
What about Avatar Sarah?
Beautiful. All right, approvals from.
I'm 36. Avatar Sarah, Gauraya Avatara. Kenana bajili Harinire pasha, jalana piyasha. Sri Avatara Sarati.
Jai.
Guru Janma Thakur ki.
Jai.
It's a song in the minor.
Shall we read the English?
Always.
1, 3, 6.
The incarnation of Sri Gaura is the most excellent of all incarnations. Why haven't I worshipped him? It is as if I was surrounded by water, but denied myself a drink, returning to my own fruitive activity.
I chewed the thorns of the tree of worldly life and considered the blood that flowed through my mouth to be nectar. When offered the fruits of the wish-fulfilling tree of ecstatic love of Lord Gauranga, I rejected them, thinking them to be poison.
Desirous of smelling a sweet scent, I sniffed at what I thought to be a fragrant flower. Alas, that flower was odorless like the palasha flower, and instead, an insect flew up my nose and bit me. Thinking material life to be sweet like sugarcane, I tried to taste its nectar. Instead, it was like chewing dry wood. In this way, my attempts at enjoyment were false.
Admitting defeat, wasted, worn out, I await the snake of death. Declaring it to be cool and soothing, I've embraced the fire of material life, only to suffer intense misery as if struck by lightning.
Worshipping my family and my material life, I forgot Lord Gauranga and didn't listen to the instructions of the saints. Now, in my final days, I realize I have died twice, for not only I am leaving this mortal body, but I am also dead while living, having wasted my life in material indulgence.
Very good.
Lochadas Thakur ki
Jai.
Lochadas is one of the poets. He's presenting a particular viewpoint of self-analysis. It's interesting in this song, that word man that's at the end of every line, mana means mind. So this song is to himself. And I think it's one of the most fascinating and ultimately progressive aspects of real spiritual life, is that you realize that there's a pattern within you that's moving in one direction and another thing in you that's moving in another direction. And it takes a constant attention and ultimately a prioritization inside of yourself to move in one or the other. And this presentation of the self-conversation, this sort of command of the higher self to the mind, hey mind, like, let's think about this a little bit. I think it's a very beautiful and progressive presentation. And ultimately, all these things are true. When we view the world as something for us to exploit, in the end, everything that we try to get loses its taste. And then we look back at the end of our life, and it's like, no matter what happens, whether we have all this stuff or we don't have all this stuff, it's kind of like, wait, what did I do? What am I doing? Vaishnava Siddhanta doesn't have a opinion, don't have wealth or don't have stuff. It says be equal. Whether you have stuff or not have stuff, that's going to happen by some type of karmic arrangement. But be equal to that and prioritize the high thing inside. And ultimately, we have to simply, and it's very simple, but it's not so easy to do, change our life from an expression of sort of selfish imposition on reality for a few years to contribution and service. And that's the difference between something that ends up being meaningless in the end or something where we're filled and enriched and progressed in the end. Sometimes you meet devotees who are very, very wealthy. It's so funny. If we manage this mansion in the Olympus neighborhood, and we had to do we had to fix the door. And we found a contractor who could actually, like, you know, paint and repair these doors that get blasted by the sun, these wood doors. And our son-in-law came, Rupa, and this guy who happened to come there was an Armenian. And he's talking to Rupa. He's like, "What are you?" He's like, "Are you a Christian?" Or like, "What are?" He's like, "Oh no, I'm a Hare Krishna." And the guy goes, "Oh, I know some Hare Krishna. You guys are all rich." And Rupa's like, "What?" And it was really funny because there's this really great devotee who lives outside of Moscow in like this absolute palace, and he's very renounced. Like, he basically eats apples and milk. That's all he eats. And he's like this very like deep thinker. He's doing this commentary on one of the Puranas, and he's like this amazing guy, but he has a lot of wealth. And so this guy had done work on this devotee's property. He's like, "Oh yeah, I know you guys. You guys are rich." And Rupa was like, "What?" It's really funny. Kind of an amazing coincidence. But yeah, I mean, it's that kind of thing where, you know, whether that's expanding or contracting is not really what's important. It's that there's some deeper connection to a deeper plane of life, a deeper perspective. It's actually valuable in the end. You know, what's lasting in this life? It's ultimately the conscious journey. Okay.
Angle of vision.
Angle of vision.
I just heard a talk in Shila. I'd heard it before, and I'm so glad that I can, you know, I just kind of randomly start listening to things. And this one disciple is asking Srila Sridhar Maharaj, what is the important service to do here in the holy Dham, in the holy place of Navadvip?
Importance of what? Sorry.
This disciple is asking Guru Maharaj, I'm here in this holy place where Guru Maharaj's mat is, where Guru Maharaj's temple compound was, is Navadvip. And he's saying, while I'm here, what is the most important thing for me to do? Like, what important service should I do, or what? And Guru Maharaj kind of chuckled, but he said, change your angle of vision. You must stop seeing the environment in the way that you've been seeing it. And he said, this is sadhana. And he said, not only here, but
Sadhana
everywhere.
Practice.
This is the deep practice. He said, not only here, but everywhere. Anywhere you are, you must change the angle of vision that you are accustomed to and begin to see the environment. And just another talk that I heard last night, just to continue this thought, it's only another minute, but Guru Maharaj said that. He said the environment is not inanimate. It is animate, and not only animate, but conscious, fully conscious. And not only fully conscious, but sympathetic toward you.
Oh, that's such a beautiful, I mean, you get a slight taste of that. The level of just internal, like, joy to recognize the friendliness in your surroundings versus the material perspective, which is like, you know, you have to protect yourself, there's enemies, there's all these variables I don't control, and I need to figure them all out, and, you know, to like switch that there's some conscious substance behind the population of everything, and it's friendly to you. Very true, very beautiful.
And then he added, I just add one little thing that from another talk, and Guru Maharaj was saying, he's saying, it's another question, he said, why did Krishna allow the foreign invaders, the Muslim invaders at that time, to do so much damage to the temples in India? Why did he allow that? And Guru Maharaj laughed. He said, damage? What is damage? He said, you must think deeper than this. He said, you have to understand that if you see a mother chastising her child, somebody may say, oh, she's very, very cruel. But another will say, oh no, to correct that child, more chastisement is necessary. He said punishment is not there in the angle of vision of Krishna. It is all magnanimity, coming to correct, coming to take us forward from a place that we have come to that is dark and wrong by our own actions. So he's saying there's no punishment in the angle of vision of Krishna. Very sweet. So many nice talks.
Yeah, that's really nice. Okay, maybe one more kirtan you can sing?
I think we were going to read. Okay.
Should we read?
Yeah.
Well,
Anyways, one thing I always think of with this song is it has a very happy tune. But it's a very,
beautiful.
like,
Yeah.
it's an unusual tune also. And it's like,
Dark.
it is kind of, it is, you know what? What's interesting about this song is the translation didn't exist for a long time. A lot of these songs, we would hear the Indian devotees like singing them, and we were always like, and like we never heard the translations. And it was really, there's some devotees that took such painstaking time to translate, and this book is actually so many hours of sacrifice to compile it. And there's sometimes certain songs are only sung on certain days, and then sometimes festival singers will come into the temple and they know certain songs, so they're compiling all these songs that are like sung. And then the first time I read the translation to this song, I have to admit, I mean, I felt it in my chest, that final verse. Because he goes, now in my final days, I realize I have died twice. And I was like, oh, this is what we've been saying. I was like, and I don't know, it's like bizarrely dark, but also super strangely relatable. And I find that like so interesting because Lochan Das Thakur, I mean, what is his time period?
Lochan Das?
Yeah,
He's after Mahaprabhu.
yeah.
so like 450 years ago maybe?
He was the guru of Narottam.
Yeah.
So
So Narottam's,
Wasn't that Lochanan?
Oh, who are we saying? Lochan?
Lochan Das.
when is Lochan Das Thakur's time period though?
He's right in front of that time period.
Lochan.
With-
So like 400 years ago.
Yeah. So this song's probably like 400 years old, you know, whatever, maybe give or take it. I don't know, I'm not super great. But like, what's really interesting to me is, so 400 years ago, I mean like, in old, and even India in the last 30 years is almost unrecognizable from what it used to be. And actually, if you talk to Madhusudana Maharaj, when he would fly over India, it was like basically straight forest. All of India, like all these bands that you're going through, everything was forest in India, right? Like now it's not, but it was, so it's like jungle and forest, 400 years, who knows what that world was like. And he writes this, and it's so strangely relatable, even though it's so much, like in a totally different paradigm, different culture, different language, and I just find it
400
arresting.
years ago, the population of India was something like 30 million. And now you have 1.4 billion. It's insane. Like even in like 1910, America and India had the same population, 100 million people. And then
We tripled and they
we tripled and they like 14x.
Wow.
It's just very amazing. And actually, Lochan Das Thakur, he has some deities that are worshipped to this day. And we go to Jaipur, and he has a temple in Jaipur. His deity, yeah, the poet of this song.
Are we going to
And
sing more?
it's like really unusual, even as a temple, which I find his songs are also kind of unusual. They have a little bit of like their own. You can start to feel like
Which
the
one
nature
are
of
you
the
gonna
person
sing?
singing when you're going through, and you're
Are they
in a
also
market.
Spammers or not all of them?
You know what? He sometimes has these very high, and then the last verse will be something like a little like, and like if you don't remember this, like think about where you're going. You know, like there's a little like
usually, even if it's such a high
Happy.
at the end there's like a little stinger like yeah, but
Better
then
watch
you
out.
just you left it all and now you're like swamped in the ocean of matter and like like
It had something to say.
he's got a
Yeah.
stinger at the end of just like hey.
And it was so interesting because you'll be in an open market and there's these very steep stairs that go up and they're kind of dark and they're very
Oh.
steep. And at the top of these stairs is a very, very beautifully lit, there's like a whole bunch of natural light coming in. Huge marble floor with kind of vaulted ceilings, and there's a deity up there, and this Lochan Das Thakur's deity. and they had their main priest loves when our temple comes. So they were so happy. One of the monks that was traveling with our group, we went with about like 40 or 50 Russians one year to Jaipur, and he was so happy that he invited us all to come the next day for lunch, and all of the monks at this temple cooked lunch for us all, and we sat down and we kept on chanting, and then he would open the curtains again, and then we were chanting, and then he'd like close the curtains, and then he got so happy that he like kept on opening the curtains. It was like this really just heartfelt moment. I don't know, something special.
And
about
that place
Jaipur.
is amazing. I mean, I don't know how interested you are in this history, but I find it like absolutely fascinating because there was like Mahaprabhu was from Eastern India, and like current day Bangladesh is a lot of where Mahaprabhu went in his pastimes in Nityananda, but everything now is in West Bengal because Bangladesh's Muslims are really inimical to like. But the followers of Mahaprabhu went to Vrindavan, the Bengalis. So Lochandas Thakur had his deities there. He's from the line of Mahaprabhu, Rupa Goswami. They made Vrindavan what it is today. And so many like kings and other people came and donated, and suddenly these huge temples came up. One of the Muslim emperors in Delhi could see this huge temple that was built in Vrindavan, and it had a permanent, like massive bowl of ghee on the top that was always burning. And he like
You could see it from hundreds of miles
he saw
away.
not hundreds, but I mean
Isn't Delhi like over 100 miles?
no, but it's like 40 miles.
That's crazy.
So you can see it, and
I guess it feels like hundreds
it feels
of miles.
like 100 miles when you're driving, but
That's
it's not.
another subject. We won't go there.
But this temple that she's talking about, so that emperor sent soldiers to just like destroy Vrindavan, and they did. They knocked that huge temple over. Even now you can only see the base of it, but you can see how massive it was.
Vrindavan is near or in Delhi?
It's-
Near Delhi.
Yeah,
It's where
near-
Krishna was born and where he had his
And so
festival.
it's a holy place. I think there's probably somewhere around 10,000 temples in that village.
it's full. But
So-
so many of these
Yeah.
deities, when the Muslim army started coming, they just moved them
They
to
they
this-
smuggled
to-
the deities
to-
out.
to a fort in Western India, like a state called Rajasthan, which is all warriors. And so this city in Rajasthan has like a bunch of different temples from those deities from Vrindavan, from that hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
That are being worshipped.
When the
to this
Muslims
day.
like came and invaded, and they're still invaded like there today. So it's a very interesting mixture because Western India has its own culture and traditions and everything, but the king of that area of Jaipur was an amazing king, and the castle there is like, I mean, it's actually unbelievable. If you forget about anything religious or anything, it's just amazing. It's like 9 sets of walls that all have fortifications and defenses. And then the very, very inner chamber is this huge temple with the deities of Rupa Goswami in that temple. And then there's like a massive fort on the hill. It's desert. And they have this like incredible like water gathering system from the fog in the air where they gathered in these big cisterns. I mean, it's absolutely magnificent. Like, you cannot believe this place. It's so cool. But in that city, in far western India, the desert by the border of Pakistan, where Mahaprabhu's from like eastern India, is Mahaprabhu's deities and the deities of these devotees of Mahaprabhu in this like amazing city where they were like all taken and protected by this king. So it's just, I don't know, the history is just absolutely alive and amazing.
So sometimes we've gone to Vrindavan, which is sort of this city of unlimited temples, you could say, like very famous, significant temples. Krishna's born there, so it's like the stronghold. There's just sometimes on the weekend there'll be like tens of thousands of people that will be coming to this like village in essence. Then we were in for pilgrimage. Oh yeah. And so like in the fall is when it's called Kartik. There's special songs that we sing, and then we do a pilgrimage there. We've gone sometimes with the Russian devotees for pilgrimage through the different places, and then after we were in Vrindavan, we actually went into that desert town on pilgrimage to see these different. And what's amazing is this one temple that's it's very famous in the Vedic world. And the first arti in the morning, or first thing when you stand up and sing, is at 4:30 in the morning, and I am not exaggerating. Maybe more than 5,000 people flow through the temple room.
Basically, the
in
whole
morning.
city
The whole
turns
city,
up for arti.
and you can hear there's like waves. It's so big that there's separate kirtan groups that are happening because there's so many people, and you're looking around, and it's 4:30 in the morning. I mean, like, it is so early, and there's oceans of people, and it doesn't end because
Well, they have a whole
they circle
traffic jam and all the whole police forces
Yeah,
out there,
yeah.
and they're directing traffic and like the whole thing.
every day.
Flowing
Every
through
day.
the
We went
temple.
on a Tuesday, like a random Tuesday with no festival time of year, and I just this feeling where you go, wow, what a beautiful, like, faithful feeling in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, and like singing to the Lord, like so happily, these crowds and they'll wait while the curtains are closed. And all these kirtan groups, and it's like this like crescendo, like, oh my gosh, the curtain's gonna
So
open. You're thinking
fascinating
like, oh
that
my
we're
god,
talking about
this is
that.
amazing. So,
It's
yeah.
so fascinating that we're talking about this, because I was just talking to Jai Shri about that I'm absolutely, definitely going to Jaipur after the festival or before the festival in Thailand.
Oh really? You're really thinking to go?
Definitely going to go to Jaipur.
Well, that's pretty cool. Maybe we'll be there.
Are we going to try?
Jaipur
Jai Shri's thinking
is-
about it.
Jaipur's incredible.
Like, really, it's not just a historical place or anything. I mean, all these like divine histories, of, pastimes of the Lord and the deities, the manifestation of the Lord in this world, so that we can see Him and do some service. But He has His will, and this temple in Jaipur absolutely rocks your world.
And the whole state is amazing. Rajasthan's incredible. They have their own culture, own language, this way of dressing.
Yeah.
They dress in super bright colors, and they're like, these people have like high cheekbones. They look like really badass. I just love Rajasthan. It's like so awesome. And like there's like the main regiments in the Indian Army are Rajasthan rifles, or they say Rajput rifles. All these different regiments from there, because they're all warriors.
They all wear these turbans
And they like,
and
yeah, they just
mustaches.
look awesome. They like have swords and stuff, and they're like, and
Rajasthan.
I don't know, like even in like Nathdwara, south of there, Udaipur, like I spent a month in Rajasthan because there's particular marble in Rajasthan. When I was trying to figure out the heck I'm doing after. I was thinking of starting a business to like bring marble in from India, but there's this particular marble that's only found in Rajasthan in the whole world called Makarana marble, and it's like it just becomes. Anyways, it has all these things. It doesn't take on heat or cold, and it's just this insane chemical like anomaly that is just absolutely incredible. But blah blah blah. But I stayed in Rajasthan for like a month, and I went like all over, and man, I just love that state. It is so cool. Oh, okay.
Anyway, I want to, instead of chanting, I'll just read this the thing about Lochan Das Thakur, which we all know it. Somehow or other we just forgot. Lochan Das Thakur was born in 1523 in Kogram, and it's very nice. It's a very nice. I'll just read it quickly. In the Katpa block of Burdwan district, this village is about 10 miles north of Ushkar train station. Jai Gurudev. The Thakur's home is situated near the Ajay River. His birth tithi is given by tithi means the auspicious time. Is given by some as the first day of the fortnight of the waxing moon imposed. She was born in the Radeya clan of the physician caste, Vaidya. His father's name was Kamalakar Das and his mother was Satanande. Lochan Das studied at his maternal grandfather's house and he displayed devotion for Mahaprabhu from his childhood. Lochan Das was married, this is a very interesting story, at a very young age according to the customs of that epoch. His in-laws' household was in the village of Ahmedpur in Kukua. However, though he had entered the married station, he was extremely renounced and spent all his time discussing Krishna Katha with other devotees of Gauranga. Since Lochan Das was married at a very early age, his wife had first remained with her parents. But as the time approached when she was to join with them, they began to worry because of Lochan Das's indifference to material life. They approached his guru, Narahari Sarkar, and told him of their disquiet. As a result, Narahari ordered Lochan Das to go to his in-laws' home. And when Lochan arrived in their village, he was unable to remember where their house was, since it had been so long since he had visited and he was a very young boy. He asked a young girl in the street for directions, addressing her as Ma, or mother. So in that culture, every woman but your wife is called mother. So there's no kind of, wrong thinking at all. So and then when he arrived at his in-laws' house, he learned that the girl whom he had addressed as mother was in fact his wife. And from that day on, he always looked upon his wife as a mother, worshipping Guru and Gauranga in the attitude of separation. So Narahari Sarkar Thakur, Mahaprabhu's famous associate from Srikhanda, was very affectionate to Lochan Das and gave him initiation. And Lochan Das enthusiastically took up residence with his guru in Srikhanda. His guru taught him the art of kirtan. Well, it's not an art, it's just inner art, divine art. And later ordered him to write Mahaprabhu's sacred biography. Lochan Das took this order seriously and wrote the Chaitanya Mangal, the events of which are based on Murari Gupta's Chaitanya Charita. The word Mangal means auspicious, and this title reflects the fact that hearing Mahaprabhu Sri Chaitanya's divine pastimes is the most auspicious activity for all living beings. Vrindavan Das Thakur's biography of the Lord was first named Chaitanya Mangal and was only later known as Chaitanya Bhagavat, and Lochan Das gives an indication of this in the introductory portion of this book. So I paid my obeisances to Vrindavan Das Thakur, his Bhagavat songs, and enchanted the entire universe, and so on. There's a few more things, but it's a very beautiful, anyway, he wrote Nitai Gunamani Amar, Nitai Gunamani, and many other beautiful songs. So he was the next generation after Mahaprabhu, it looks like. But
He was at the same time, he was just connected to Narahari before Narottam Das. So he was just before Narottam Das.
Just before Narottam Das Thakur.
Yeah, but at the same, Narottam Das did meet Narahari Sarkar also, but later.
Who?
Narottam.
Okay, right.
He's just barely before Narottam Das Thakur.
One thing I always remember, I'm surprised they didn't say it in there, the main thing I always remember about Lochan Das Thakur is he actually kept his deities in a pouch at his chest, which I thought was quite unusual. It's like a kind of unusual practice actually sometimes where some saintly people, they will worship the Lord on just like where their heart is, like take the deity and worship them on the back of their heart. It's very unusual.
All those songs he wrote.
Should we read something or should we sing?
I think read.
How did he?
What should we read?
Ooh, Marsh.
I have
Oh.
this one here.
Oh yeah? Do you want to hear a particular passage from that?
No, remember the first bhakti game in the Mela? This was part of the prize. So if you be or something.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I haven't read this.
Okay, well
Would you
there's,
like to take it?
there's a few chapters in here that I would highly recommend.
It's volume 2.
There's certain chapters in these books where, I really truly believe this. If they were the only scripture left in the world, you would still have enough. They're just so complete. Actually, totally amazing. So one of those is chapter 3, called Bhajan, Real and Apparent.
Called what?
Bhajan, real and apparent. So real means it's happening internally. Apparent means you're showing it externally, but it's not necessarily real.
Critical.
Performance kirtan.
I'm trying to. There we go. Well, we can. That's where that humility
Needs to be
being-
opened in. It has to
Yeah,
be.
it's where that
is said is in that chapter.
It's so all of most of these books that we're reading. So when we're saying Guru Maharaj, we're referring to on the right, Sri Maharaj. Guru Maharaj kind of is what you call your grandfather guru. It's like teacher, but it's like it was his teacher. So we say Guru Maharaj because it kind of refers to that, like your grandfather teacher. And then most of these books came from people that traveled across the Ganga to, at that time, was a very simple, small temple, which turned into a much larger temple over the years, but it was very simple in the jungle. And they recorded the answers. They asked questions on the nature of reality, and he was in his late 80s and early 90s. And he had already started many temples all over India and was very widely recognized in India, as there's a title that was given to him by his own teacher called Shastra Nipuna, which is a title that means he who understands the import of the scripture. So even like his kind of colleagues or contemporaries, you could say, they all kind of recognized that he actually had the very deep understanding of what the scriptures are actually trying to tell us and condensing them. And so then many Westerners came. And it was very interesting because really like the East and West don't mix as easily in the olden times, even in like the early 80s. So it, like for him coming from like where he was not actually normal, but by the time he had gotten to his late 80s and 90s, our teacher actually here, Srila Govinda Maharaj, really encouraged him to share with the West some of these treasures. And so what happened was many Westerners came from all over the world, asked these questions, they recorded them, and they transcribed them, and they actually turned into books. So that's really what we're reading. A majority of these ones are just transcribed lectures from Srila Maharaj. And it is actually astonishing sometimes to think that there wasn't like a huge editing process, and there wasn't like, let me get back to you and like ChatGPT this and all sorts of things, but that it was such an ocean of understanding on like the nature of these. Some of the answers are so amazing. Like, for example, this chapter where we were just talking about, there's a definition that Suter kind of honed in on some years ago that we were like blown away by. And he said, humility means being open to infinite possibility. That's Srila Maharaj's like one of his many definitions of humility. And it was so, and to say it in English, in your 90s, and to contemplate just what that means is like really like so amazing actually. And so anyways, that's just a little bit of background on the book and how they came about.
All right, we'll just read a couple paragraphs here. Okay. So the devotee's asking a question. He says, my friend was relating last night that you once said humility is accepting no position. The conversation, this chapter is called Bhajan, Real and Apparent, and it's talking about how there's a tendency within us to be what Guru Maharaj calls ostentatious. And ostentatious means we want everyone to see where we're at, what we're doing. And there's just this natural thing where even if you're attempting on a spiritual life, a lot of people will create a persona around that and be like, see, look, look how cool I am now. You know what I mean? This sort of ostentatious presentation. So Guru Maharaj is going through many different aspects of spiritual qualities and sort of going, no, this is the real thing, not the show thing. So speaking of humility, so Guru Maharaj answers, yes, no position, because a servant has no independent position. His position is always on command of the master. The orientation of a person, and that person should be us, in life, is that I'm not so attached to what position I'm in. I'm attached to, am I connected to service? And the position can change, but I'm ready for anything. So then Guru Maharaj says the famous sentence, he's always situated within infinite possibility. that's such an exciting life if you really think about that, you know, to be within infinite possibility. And we like to think that we would like that. It's actually the only way to actually interact with the infinite, is to situate yourself within infinite possibility. Because otherwise, very naturally, you're going to be placing limitations. You're going to be resisting, right? You want to have a relationship with the infinite, you better open yourself up to infinite possibility. Because otherwise, what's going to happen? Some motion's going to have you like, wait, I didn't think of that. No, let's discuss this. What's the risk management here? To actually be ready for infinite possibility is such a wonderful idea. And Guru Maharaj defines that as humility, not to the gundas. That's his next sentence. The gundas means like rogues,
Criminals.
gangsters, criminals. He's humble to the Lord, not the gundas. That also takes away from like this sort of like external facing humility. I'm here to do my service. And if somebody's like a gunda or a rogue or getting in the way of me doing that service, I'm not going to just be like, well, beat me up if you need to, It's like, no, you're in the way of my service. Like maybe I'm going to beat you up. You know what I mean? That's a much deeper spiritual principle than just always, being in this position of like, sort of this external facing, just do whatever to me. Because that is moving into the actual Leela, the actual play. It's a very difficult thing to ponder and understand, but it's very important to ponder and understand it.
In humility, Arjuna was lopping off heads left and right.
Yeah.
But that was a service. And not that we're going to be doing that anytime soon.
So, his humility must be chiefly toward whom? I am the humble, I am the lowest of the low, toward my Lord. I am humble to my Lord and the Lord's own. I am humble there. But when it is necessary for Hanumanji to burn the golden city of Lanka, Hanuman's humility is not disturbed. He is as humble as anyone can be, carrying out the order of Lord Ram. He is fully given, wholly surrendered. So there's a story, there's a great epic called the Ramayana. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's probably one of the more famous scriptures, particularly in Asia, and really all over Asia. One of my favorite shocking experiences. I got sent to Shanghai by eBay to like open up the Chinese eBay site. So I stayed in Shanghai for a long time. It was almost 2 months. And one of the Chinese guys that was there was a super awesome guy, but he took us around, all around Shanghai. And one of the places we went is this beautiful lake city called Guangzhou. And I mean, it's a little city. It's like 8 million people, but it's like, compared to Shanghai, it's like small. But outside of Guangzhou is this incredible lake. I mean, like, crouching tiger, hidden dragon, bamboo forests, giant pagodas next to the lake. I mean, it just looks like literally unreal. And there's this incredible Buddhist temple that's there that goes all the way up a mountain, and there's like a temple at like every 100 feet up the mountain. And all these deities, and it's actually incredible. There's monks living there, which I was shocked. I didn't realize that was happening in communist China. But this temple is famous because there's a cave system in the mountain, and when you go in the cave system, the entire Ramayana, which Guru Maharaj is referring to here, is carved on the wall of the cave. From start to finish, the whole story is like a carving.
Wow.
And this huge, like, maybe it's like a kilometer long. It's like a huge cave.
In China.
And so I didn't realize that, like, this culture, because I'm ultimately went all to Japan, but I mean, this is like an actual temple, like right now, today in China, and this Vedic scripture is like carved on the wall of it. Anyway, so that's the Ramayana, and in the Ramayana, one of the servants of the Lord, like the Lord is playing as a king. His wife gets kidnapped. He goes to the city where she's kidnapped, and they capture him, and he escapes and burns the city down. So Guru Maharaj is referring to that pastime and saying, when he burnt the city down, he was humble.
Too long.
Humility, in other words, is surrendering. Humility means no opposition to the command that is related to Vaikuntha, the upper section. Not humility to the gangsters on the street, the tiger or the serpent. Humility does not drag them into the relativity of a tiger or a jackal. The real relationship is with the Vaishnava. That is the plane where the devotee takes his stand. He's concerned with the Vaishnava. And humble means that he does not resist the higher instruction. Without opposition, he carries out the order that comes to him. He is humble. He possesses humility, sunichata. He's not sitting on a seat of prejudice. Generally, we think of humility as pertaining to the outside world, but that is not the meaning. To the standard thinking person, the members of the outside world may be deluded. They are mad. Humility is not in the standard of madness. Humility does not cater to mad people. A madman actually has no standard of his own. So humility means to have a standard from the standard world and follow that. Do you follow? Devotee, yes. So this for me was like a really important meditation in terms of like your life, right? Like how do you interact with the world? To be humble does not mean that, I don't know, like, I mean, we had a time where like a really sort of cuckoo guy just walked in here and was a little scary, honestly, making demands, making little screams, little threats, stuff like that. And it's like, if you're humble, like, what do you do? Like, like, what do you do? And I mean, for myself, I had not really a hesitation on this. I mean, once you understand the person is not here for like a higher purpose, it's like, bro, you're gonna go. Like, that's just what's gonna happen. And just move them along. And it's not being humble to do that. It's that I have a service, which is my service here, that I'm going to do. And I'm not going to put myself in the relativity of whatever's going on in your mind and make myself humble to that. And so that's just a very, very important distinction, is that my humility is to a higher source and the higher path, not to the relativity of some type of crazy section. And Guru Maharaj ultimately is saying the whole world is actually kind of crazy. I mean, if you think of it in a particular way, where it's just like everyone's running around like, get more stuff, and we need more taxes, or we need less taxes, and we're going to need more. It's like, what are you actually doing? That's a little bit, from the standpoint of like a saint, that's like, you guys are nuts. Like, what are you doing? What are you gonna?
It's very interesting what you're sharing, and I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you have the mic? Will they be able to hear you?
No.
Yeah, I can hear you. It's behind you.
Yeah, just go. Yeah, just go.
Since we're all individuals, since we all have our own personalities, we have different services, right?
Yeah.
At the same time, your service is different to mine.
Yes.
Your service is also different to Rise.
Yes.
Different to Christians. So what can we do to have this service present, so that we don't get caught up on becoming humble to the relativity of the mind. How can we know what our service is?
Yeah, I mean, I think, ultimately that's a very living thing. In the expression of Leela, like in the story of the Ramayana, it's very alive. Things are occurring, and your service is sort of in the motion of that story, right? Of that play. In our actual life, there are principles that we're living by, and we find ourselves in different situations. When I was 28, I was in India, living in a monastery. You know what I mean? And like my service one day was like, go clean out the Indian bathroom outside of the brahmachari, like where the brahmachari stayed. And that was intense for me, right? And then I had another crazy experience on top of that. But for me, it's like, okay, when Mahananda says,
he like
hey,
nods off.
you see that bathroom over there? That's like, what happened in there? I don't know. You go clean it out. And so like humility in that circumstance is like, it's not up for question. It's like, I'm gonna go clean that bathroom out. Okay. I'm not going to think about, what kind of biotics are in there or anything. I'm just going to clean the bathroom out. All right, I'm going to trust, and I'm going to go do that. Well, honestly, it's just an interesting story. It's not really anything momentous, but it's kind of a story that I remember. When I finally was like, okay, after breakfast, I'm like going to clean this thing. One of the Langur tribes, which is like these big monkeys with the huge long tails, really beautiful. One of the longer tribes came through the mott at that time, like in the late morning. And the king langur, like this freaking just built monkey, is sitting right on top of the bathroom that I have to clean. And I was just like, oh my God. And I don't know what it is. They can just tell if you're a white boy, because I'm like maybe like 2 feet higher than some of these Indians, or at least 1.5 feet. And the Indians just come and they just go, ah! And the monkeys are like, pew! So, I just come over and I'm like, rah! And he's just looking at me like, whatever, man. It's like,
I don't believe you.
yeah, he's just, I am a little scared. I'm just going, rah? I get a little stick, I'm hitting it on the ground. He's just like whatever, man. So I used to be a pitcher when I used to play baseball. So I can throw really hard. So I got a rock, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna show these monkeys what time it is. So I got a rock, and I just whipped it at this monkey, and I threw it right at his head, and he just went like this, and the rock went right by his head, just like this. And then he goes, and just freaking showed me these 4-inch freaking incisors, and I'm just like, this is not my hometown. I don't know what I'm doing. And so anyways, I just bailed and told Mahananda, I'm not sure if I'm going to be cleaning it today. I actually did not clean it today. We waited for the Langur tribe to go. But I tried, but that was that's what I had to deal with that day. You know what I mean? And it was amazing to me, because it was just an amazing experience. I was like, okay, I don't need, and all these thoughts come to you where you're like, I don't even know who this monkey is. Who is this guy who's happens to walk into this amazing temple with his 11 females and all the little babies or whatever, and now he's just playing with me. I'm I have no idea what's going on here. All I know, I was just okay, man, I'm not doing that. But it's I'm trying to express that your life is alive. You're not in a dead life. And if you receive some guidance that you feel okay, this is my service, then you try and do it. But then it's alive. You know what I mean? And, our materialistic ego wants security, it wants predictability, and it wants comfort. And everything that we do has this sort of in the background. Am I gonna get comfortable from this? And is it for sure gonna last or help it last? Right? Am I gonna get security, predictability, and comfort? That's what we're searching for with the material ego. And it's completely a lie. Because what you actually want is adventure. What you actually, and here's the thing, you will never have predictability over God. His purpose is happening. And it's wonderful. And you think you want predictability, but you don't. You want dynamic, exciting existence. And that's what's coming to you. So we have to trust that. Move into it. And notice you're going to hear your little ego screaming as it dies. I want a better couch. Or whatever, And it's not what you want. You know what I mean? And that service is coming alive to you. So you move into a place where you start making sacrifices because you're not sure. We want sureness, but you're not sure. Now you're making a sacrifice. Now you're making an offering. And you're not attached to it. You're not like, oh my God, I gave 302 calories in the last 25 minutes. Like, what's coming back to me? All this junk that's in our head. Give into the infinite. Janardamar said something really cool in SoCal. He said, jump into the infinite without a landing spot. Without a landing pad. I mean, what a cool expression for what is he, 83, 85? An 83-year-old man to say. Jump into the infinite without a landing pad. It's like, that's a freaking life. If you're saying that when you're 83, you're like, my children's a candy checkers, only 3 like, oh my God, the TV guy came late. What are you doing with your life? You just sought your comfort, and now you got your little check and your freaking TV, and now you're but he's saying, jump into the infinite with no landing pad. Okay, now that's cool. So that's the humility is the situation's going to come and surround you. The opportunity to give is going to occur. Sometimes there's a clear direction coming from a higher source. Sometimes it's not so clear. And the willingness to adapt and sacrifice in every circumstance is going to be a great wealth to you. You're not going to lose from that.
Find yourself.
You're actually going to find who you are a lot deeper. Yeah.
I would say there was
Please.
a question asked to Gormarsh. They said we live in a country where they're not very favorable for the practice of spiritual life. Maybe it was Russia actually, but I can't remember. Because
Hungary or something.
Mm-hmm, maybe the eastern part of Europe and the communist side. They said because the questions were asked before, and they said what, and should we still be humble because they don't actually have a theistic conception. And Gorbarsh's answer is very interesting, actually. And he says, he goes, you will never be the loser by practicing humility. And so I think, this is, to set a very specific standard of where you have to refine humble to what and for whom. But for the most part, the Vaishnav etiquette is to actually adjust yourself harmoniously to your environment. And then that, extreme example is given as a possibility of infinite possibilities. There could be this massive, but it's not saying and humility means being open to infinite possibilities. So the first thing I do is I rampage, I go to war, and I just you know what I mean? For the most part, the Vaishnav default is harmonize, see some divine will in it, see what's the next service that's hiding inside of it. And then when it's very clear that there's nothing else and that there's an extreme situation, and it's like, yes, and even that is considered a humble expression of the heart, right? Because to what and for whom? You do have to make a judgment call to what and for whom. So there's a massive world of discernment ultimately, right? That is an important and vital part of spiritual life. Right? Otherwise, why would Krishna in Bhagavad Gita spending so much time? This is a gift that's given in the mode of ignorance, right? It says given at the wrong time, something that someone doesn't want with an expectation, right? And then they move, like a gift in the mode of goodness is the thing that the person wants, given in the appropriate moments, given in the, like there's all sorts of movement.
And that's good for them, yeah.
And that's helping them.
Yeah, it's a
right?
worthy person.
Yeah.
And the person is worthy of being a gift. There's all sorts of like layers. That's just a simple example, but there's all sorts of like motion where it's like this kind of thing is gonna inflame your mind, make you pretty like unhappy. This kind of thing, it's kind of helpful for you. This kind of thing, you live with like patience, courage, honor, sacrifice, control your mind. Like you live with sacrifice. But there's all sorts of like little movements that are constantly being advocated, full of transformation. So you're gonna be called in your own life, right? Is it just my mind that's playing a big game on me? Am I supposed to be humble to this situation that's come up? Generally speaking, the knee-jerk reaction of the ego is, how about not? Right? That's why it's unusual that it's saying, oh, a war can happen and still be humble. Because there are moments where we're going to have to go, I'm going to reserve my judgment in this moment. I'm going to let it wash over me. It's going to teach me something. I'll let it do its work a little bit. And then I'll see what is hiding in this circumstance where I actually propose something. And it's not just like this sort of like we get burned and then we react, right? There's like this kind of pause, and then you're going, and then the deeper thing that's always happening, right? What's my what is the bigger wave that's come over me in this situation, right? That's what it means, surrounded by karma. It means somehow or other I tried to dodge this thing that happened. Like nobody, rarely do people go looking for misery, and yet it finds us anyways.
I mean, like there was a kid here. His name is actually Ram Sundar, and he went to Thailand. He's born and raised here in Salt Lake City. Went to soccer player. They, just like absolutely as normal a Utah boy as you could think of. And he felt a calling. He did some service here for a little while. Then he came with us to Thailand one year.
He did not come back.
And now he lives in
It's been
Thailand.
3 years.
You know what I mean? Because that service sort of appeared to him. And they're building a temple on a hill there, and it's amazing. And like, who knows where it's all going, right? But like, his dad and his mom have gone from like, what the heck is happening with our kid, to his dad going out and visit him in Thailand, going, I always wanted to be a monk. This is so cool. We should do it. And that appeared where if you would have talked to him a year before that, it would have been literally inconceivable, absolutely inconceivable that any of that could happen. It would have been inconceivable to me completely that would happen to that kid. And when we first met him, if you would have told me that he would spend his early 20s as a monk, because he was a friend of my daughter in high school, like I would have been like, no, actually that's not going to happen.
I was just advocating for them to attend school.
Yeah, it's like, can you guys actually just maybe go to school like once a week?
How about go to class?
No, and it's just incredible, the transformation, and then the willingness to go with that flow, and then where that takes you. And it really is beyond what you might imagine. You might imagine 5 things. Dude, there's billions and trillions of things that can happen. You're imagining 5. You know what I mean? Like you gotta find that posture that's literally ready for something that you can't imagine.
Very important.
And ready to go into it, even if a part of your little whining comfort predictability seeker is going like, cold, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And see where that takes you. You know, and then sometimes a devotee is just like, hey, you see that really, really messed up like pile of garbage there? Can you clean it up? And that's also a part of humility, where you're like, but I don't do garbage actually, you know, or whatever. There's a lot of that thing too. I mean, I've seen so many people respond to a service request of like, hey, like, you know, they just got fed like an incredible meal by like all these people that, and it's like, hey, can you help with the pots? Maybe dry a couple pots. I don't really do pot service, you know, or whatever. And it's just like, okay, you know, because that thing can happen, and I'm giving a really blatant example, but that can happen to us. Or sometimes we have a limitation in our mind where it's like the service comes where it's like, hey, can you translate this Bengali? And you're like, I literally can't do that. I mean, you can't imagine, when Prabhupada, like, he told this 19-year-old kid, his name was Shivananda, he said, hey, can you go to Germany? The guy doesn't speak German, he's 19. Can you go to Germany and start some temples? And you know what that guy did? He did it. And there are temples all over Germany because that 19-year-old kid went there and did that. You're like, you don't even know what you're capable of. And humility means like, open yourself up to possibilities that you don't even know about yourself. Don't limit yourself. Don't limit the service. Jump into it.
Yeah, it's important. Could I add something
Please.
to that, especially from your example? Because, in other words, like there are people like Genghis Khan, Hitler, Mussolini, who do amazingly, extremely impressive things and are very, very determined. But when one is practicing Sharanagati to the Supreme All personification of all good, auspicious, divine reality, then we're not doing these things on our own and for our own purpose. And what he's got in mind, if we have a posture of Sharanagati, which is the essence of what we're practicing, then we can be taken and to, like you were saying about Shivananda Prabhu, because we were also super young, and Srila Prabhupada said, you know, I want a temple in Cleveland.
Yeah.
We had just gotten married. I was 19.
Like,
And
Cleveland,
never
can I
been
go
to
to,
Cleveland in my life.
Congo or something?
I mean, I did speak the language, but... And we didn't have
We
funding.
love Cleveland.
We didn't have funding. It's not like people were giving us money. We went out collecting money. And then we bought this place. And, you know, like you're saying, when you are in the influence, the divine influence of a great personality, then that personality can move you in a place where you could never, ever have dreamed of going.
It's actually true.
Not only externally, but internally.
And there's so much, I mean, there's so many situations in life like that. I mean, I can just give you I can say in one sense it's a material example, but in another sense it isn't. Because it all takes faith. It's all coming in front of you. And I actually asked Gurudev about this, and he was just like, yeah, go back and do that. Like, I had a degree in political science and philosophy, and I wanted to be a lawyer until I was like, I don't want to be a lawyer. I'm going to go, like, either join the army or join a monastery. Luckily, I joined a monastery. But I came back, when I was 29, and I got a job in customer support, and my thought was just like, I can't really renounce this world because I have debt. So I'm going to go pay my debt off, and then I'm going to go back and live in the monastery. And then I got a job with this company I never heard of called eBay, and started doing all kinds of other stuff. But they asked me to be the manager of a software team. I don't know a damn thing about software. or I do now, but I didn't at that time. And I was just like, you know, having this group of guys when we were making stuff for customer support, but your mind is like, I can't do this, I won't do this, I'm not going to do this, right? And yet this thing is like, okay, go do this. And you're like, okay, I guess I'm going to do this. And you just have to drop all your pretensions and limitations, because there's some wave that you're meant to participate in. And you don't know your own ability, and you don't know where it's all taking you. And you know what's funny is that I was thinking like, this is all, like I really shouldn't be doing this job, and and then I went back to see Gurudev, and Gurudev's like, go back there and do that job. And I was like, what? Because I had this idea, I'm like, we're going to start this thing, and I want to do that, and I'm like laying all these things, like, you know, that I thought was like the spiritual things to do. And Gurudev's like, nope, actually go back to Salt Lake City and work your job. And I was like, okay, is this my service? So
Here we are.
it's alive. I hope that's just all of that all together is helpful.
Yeah, it was very, very helpful. Thank you. May I share a brief story?
Please.
Because you're saying that it is alive. And as you guys know, I'm just a newcomer. I haven't really experienced a real transformation. But
I would say you're fairly much experiencing a little bit of transformation.
Yes.
You're quite a different person than you were.
compared
Yeah.
to how I was 1 year before, I'm very different. And I would like to share my experience about feeling like this opportunity of service. It happened in the Govinda Mela. I wasn't expecting to help Murali Mahaprabhu with the
Oh yeah, with
Yeah.
the audiovisual.
With the
I did
audiovisuals.
see that. That was actually quite
He's an
interesting.
absolute pro.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
And such a sweet
What
person.
a
as
sweet
well.
Oh my gosh,
So
so soft.
I wasn't planning on doing that. I
Yeah.
was just going back to my tent after doing a lot of pots. I was tired.
Yeah.
Syrup for the pot man.
So there was Murali Mahaprabhu. I didn't really know who he was.
Yeah.
And there was this old devotee, Falguni Prabhu.
Falguni.
Okay.
Falguni, okay. So I said hi because I like to say hi to everyone. Hi, Dandavat. And then this Falguni Prabhu, he like engaged me in a conversation. He said, come, let's talk. So I started talking. And I gotta say that it was tough to speak to Falguni Prabhu because he wouldn't let me speak. He would just want to talk, he wouldn't listen. So he gave me a ton of anxiety. So
It's hard to talk to someone when you can't talk.
oh yeah. So
This is an interesting story.
Falguni probably was watching this like,
No, it's all with
Keep
affection.
going.
He's not watching it though.
so if it wasn't because he kept like talking like into my ears, he didn't let me talk, I wouldn't have like caught the attention of Murali Mohan Prabhu because he joined the conversation because he said, hey, let the Prabhu speak. And then I figured out how to like finish or conclude the conversation with Falguni Prabhu. And I was like, whoa, Murali Mohan Prabhu is very aware of like, I'm gonna talk to him. And then that's how I ended up doing the audiovisual service, which was like very amazing
Yeah,
experience.
you did a lot actually.
Mhm.
You made a difference. That was really cool. Exactly.
That's a great example.
I mean, 'cause it's a perfect example of like, could you have predicted that? No. Could I have predicted it? No.
Also,
It
he's
happened?
an absolute pro. Like I mean, like you see when he's like, "Oh, that's because," and I mean, it's just like
he does
like,
all kinds of like private gigs, and he also works. I think he works for the county of Santa Cruz or
Yeah.
something like that, and does all their stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah.
It's interesting because he's a sweet devotee,
Yep.
but when he's in action,
Yeah.
service, he's perfectionist. So I was making some mistakes, obviously
Yeah.
because I'm a beginner. He was like, okay, don't try to not make that mistake again. I was, yeah, I like this, this mood. I like correction.
hmm.
And now I have a question.
Okay.
I saw a YouTube short today. I know it's getting a little bit late. I'm gonna try to be fast. I saw this YouTube short. He's not a devotee, but I could feel that he was a great thinker.
Mhm.
I don't know who he was, a psychologist, a philosopher, I don't know. But he mentioned that past and future, they're just illusion. And that the now is actually reality, and that is eternity. And it's not something like a sandwich in between. The now is not in between the past and the future.
Forget the past. that
And we
sleeps.
perceive it like that because reality is going through the filter of our mind.
Correct.
So when he mentioned the now is eternity, the now is reality, I immediately thought about Mahaprabhu, Krishna. And now that we spoke about humility, of being open to
Infinite
possibilities,
Yes.
and at the same time, when we do our service, sometimes we're anxious. Like for example, I was planning to do this on my computer, but all of a sudden the devotees asked me to go do the pots. So I'm doing the pots thinking about the future of me working in the computer. So how can we connect what these guys said on YouTube shorts about humility and about
It's a very it's
Yeah,
a complex question. I understand the
confused.
question.
Okay.
It's actually quite difficult because ultimately we're in a state of perception. So Nani was mentioning that Guru Maharaj says this: you have to start changing your angle of vision, changing your perception, changing your perspective in life. We are very estranged by past and future, not just future. We're also caught up in our past, we're caught up in our patterns. We have all kinds of prejudices that keep us from actually being open to the moment because of our past experience, right? That we have to overcome. Where we're like, oh yeah, I know what it's like to wash pots. Like, right? Because you had some experience washing pots before. I'm just giving an example. Right? We have all kinds of things where we associate a particular feeling with a particular external circumstance. And that means we're caught up in the past. Guru Maharaj calls that accumulated prejudice. Okay? But actually, what's reality, there's a book called Subjective Evolution, which is really important for us to read. Maybe we can read it regularly, because it's actually the most, I would say, scientific book of Srila Sridhar Maharaj's talks. But one of the principles that Guru Maharaj says is, you have to understand that consciousness is the integer, not the circumstance. And that just because a particular circumstance is occurring doesn't mean that that conscious experience is the same every time. It's very, very important to understand this. We are brainwashed into this idea that the circumstances causes the feeling, and it's not that way. Okay? The feeling, the experiencer is primary. And if the experiencer changes, or if the conscious experience changes, the circumstance does not define how that is experienced. Okay? So that can help us to move out of this sort of accumulated prejudice thing that keeps us in the past and also keeps us fearful of the future. The other thing is that there's a practice of Tatenu Kampam Sharanagati, right? Because ultimately, how can you actually live in the present? It's very fascinating as a concept of physics. A lot of these guys who have come across this, where they're just like, is time? People come at it from different angles. A lot of physicists kind of go like, how is time a thing? Is it a thing? Like what? What is it? Because all there is an unfolding. And then other people reach a conclusion that actually past, present, and future all live together in this infinity of potential. Right, but the scriptures agree with this thing that there is an eternal present, and that is the actual plane of conscious experience. So there's a moment where everything is unfurling, and that's the present. Everything is always unfurling afresh.
You're
and
calling that the horizon.
I call it's a misnomer, because this term means something else, like in physics, but I think of it in my mind as an event horizon. But the event horizon means really just this place at which, at a certain point you're going to get too close to a black hole and you're inevitably going to get sucked into it, right? But that, for me, it's actually like this thing. There's this actual point on the horizon of time where the events are actually occurring, and everything else is phantasmagoria. Past is phantasmagoria, and future is phantasmagoria. There's just a thing that's occurring constantly that is the place where events occur, and that's the present. And so much of spiritual life is about moving into the present where you can actually participate. And a huge part of doing that is to remove this prejudice. And when Guru Maharaj is saying, be open to infinite possibility, that means live in the frickin' present in the end. That's what that means.
Not lamenting and not...
Otherwise, you're instantly going to be like, how come it wasn't like this? Now you're separated. Oh, I didn't want this one. Now you're separated. Right? You can't actually live because you're constantly in this state of regret, judgment, fear, desire, demand, all bitterness, whatever it might be, all these states that are in the future or in the past that is separating you from that. So all of this practice of Sharanagati is actually so you can live in the moment. And one of the biggest problems with all these guys who say this, because it is a truth, is there's no path to live in the moment except for like, you guys gotta live in the moment. It's kind of like, what?
Which moment?
What? Like, it has no meaning almost. Sharanagati means I'm resetting my relationship with reality so that I trust. Now maybe you can live in the moment, right? I'm feeling pain about what's happened in the past. Resolve that through Tattenu Kampam Susamikshama. Resolve it. Harmonize with it, right? So you can live in the present and not have a fearful relationship with the future, because you're in trust, right? You have to be personally expansive so that you're ready for anything, and you have to be relationally in love and in trust with reality to live in the present. So bhakti yoga actually is the yoga of moving into the present in love, because that's the only present you can actually live in.
Yeah.
There's no other present. It has to be love, because love's what's unfurling. The play of love is reality. And we have so many hang-ups on it that we're all screwed up and dissociated from it. But the yoga is to move into connection to the moment where you can participate and contribute in love. So Sharanagati really is the path of moving into the present.
You could almost say yoga means to be in the present.
Yeah, actually. Yeah, real
It means
yoga,
you're connected.
real connection.
Right, there's like you're connected to the live wire as it's unfurling.
Yeah.
And you can see actually that the disassociation, like that's how Guru Maharaj will say, like, you can spend so many lifetimes in grief or anger or all these kinds of things. Time is it's in consciousness. So if you're you can be frozen somewhere in consciousness. It's until you're actually willing to resolve that thing and like see that it has some purpose, and then like work through whatever that thing is. Otherwise you will stay there. Everyone will see it every day, right? There's someone that decides to like let their house fill with trash and from some event, and they stay frozen there. Maybe it's been 20 years since that event happened, and this happens every day. Like, these are not like examples that are far off in some other stratosphere. Every day. And so we don't want to stay frozen where some event has. We need to see. And then to the inverse, to make sure that we understand that we know it's true. Some people live through almost exactly what we wouldn't wish on our worst enemy. And they come forth with dignity and nobility, and they say, I wouldn't wish it any other way. And not only is my life in some kind of like unbelievable change, right? You know, like you hear stories of like this one story quite captured me of this Navy SEAL was doing a training thing in Australia in the Sydney Harbor, and a shark bit his leg off. And the Navy guys pulled him up, and one guy had to put his hand into his leg and hold his artery closed. I mean, like, we're talking about like the most extreme circumstance that you wouldn't wish on your worst enemy. And he has to go through this massive journey. And he said, the only thing that I was more afraid of than sharks was public speaking. And he goes through this massive journey of rehab, which is like quite harrowing. And the words that he used blew me away, because you must embrace it. And I thought it's easy to say when you embrace something that's like, you know, smell like a rose that smells good. It's very difficult to say
like
embrace
Michelle.
it when, yeah. And then he was asked, okay, well, you made it through this extreme circumstance. Maybe you can speak to some kids or something. He's like, oh, absolutely not. And then he thought, well, these kids were in kind of an unfortunate circumstance. Who am I? Okay. And then he said, and then I spoke to them about some of the things that I'd wandered through on my journey. He goes, and I felt movement inside of myself. And I thought, this is exactly what we're talking about. You didn't know that feeling could happen inside of you. And you didn't know where that feeling was hiding. And you would never say, oh, it was hiding in this darkest circumstance. That's what the event horizon is like, pushing forward, full of purpose and full of faith and full of beauty ultimately. And you're going, that's what we're talking about, right? And so you get to see, because you get the opportunity to see all these different possibilities. And you go, oh, now I know I don't want to be frozen in that place. It captured me for some period of time, but it is actually in the past, and there's some purpose in it, but I can't stay there anymore, right? And it's actually quite a
Then that event is
energetic.
actually in the present, it's not in the past.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it's such a, like, it's really a happy, like, meditation, really. If you start going to these things, you go, like, this is what we're talking about? Like, so
It's
alive.
just very interesting because, anyways, it's very dynamic. We can talk about these things a lot because, you know, there's a process of becoming. So you can see the only thing that's happening is the present, but at the same time, there's a story. And that's the Sanskrit word. Again, these words are extremely rich. So we're trying to, like, pull them into English, but they're coming from a paradigm that understands perspective and time. So our language is mechanical. We have an extremely efficient language at talking about doing stuff. This language, this word is vilas. Vilas is expressing this conscious feeling of progression within the present. And that's the wonderful thing, is there's this feeling of expansion and motion, not just an amnesiac present, right? Mm-hmm. These are super sophisticated ideas of perspective within the infinite. And, you know, sometimes we have to just hear these things. You know, a surfer in the infinite has come out and said, like this, and used a particular word in a particular language of that time and said it, right? And now we have to, like, let it resonate, let it sink within us, and hopefully...
And experience that.
Have it reveal itself to us. You know, we're gonna know these things on a more and more intimate basis. So.
And the present, like you're saying, the present without love is stupid and useless.
Word.
What the hell? Who cares? It's all a bunch of bull crap that it's all in the mental plane. Mm-hmm. It's just talking, I mean, maybe something, blah, blah, blah. But without love of God, without being in the movement of the flow of divine love, it has no purpose. It has nothing. The mystic yogis can go through all kind. Guru Maharaj said time and space are mental constructs. So I can understand something about that, especially with space. And I think everyone can. I mean, there's really not space.
on one level. And the yogis can travel at the speed of the mind, just be there. As soon as they want, but so what? For what? Who cares? What's the point of it? It's just understanding a little bit more clearly about matter. But when divine love comes in there, then there's reality. Then there's I'm giving myself. I not only have purpose, I want to give more of myself than I have. More of me than I am. Then the purpose, you can't even approach it. That word doesn't have enough to approach that.
Well,
There is reality, and the heart of the Lord, and our fulfillment, our real heart, is in the heart of the Lord, in His purpose. Then I know who I am.
and that's a lot also. Okay, thank you guys. Wonderful discussion. Christian, everybody was talking. Did you want to share anything, or you don't have to? Also,
No, I really appreciate all your thoughts. One thing I wanted to say to your point, or to your question, I don't know if it's helpful or not, but when you asked the question, it made me think of someone I saw on YouTube, and he just talked about something. It's kind of a simple thing, but I don't know how to do this yet, but when he spoke about it, it made me really want to do it, and I've tried to do it, and I'm just in trying, I feel like I've made some progress in achieving that, some small progress in like doing that thing that we call living in the moment, right? But what he talked about was totality, and he said be total. And what he means is, he says, when you're doing something, if you're he used the example of washing the dishes, which is so funny because we were just talking about that. He says when you wash the dishes, he's like, be washing the dishes. You know what I mean? But he's like don't just be washing the dishes, but your mind is somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And how often do we? Because
that's karma yoga, by the way.
Mm,
Chapter
offering
3.
to-
That's karma yoga.
right.
Offering.
How do we translate karma yoga again?
The yoga of action.
Yoga of action. Right. Exactly.
Action as a yoga maybe is a way of saying it.
But it's offering.
An
to-
activity as a yoga.
It's an offering. It's an offering. Like
Yeah.
offer to the infinite. Let Him mold it in His own way, and He will give the result.
Yeah.
Then you're in the present. Otherwise, good luck. It's a nice
Right.
theory. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You can be looking at the pot and everything, but that's going to get boring.
That is a authentic yoga.
I love that.
Yeah, and I just find that in my own life, like so often, it's not even just that I'm washing the dishes, but I'm thinking about some other thing. It's like I'm being pulled this way and that way in an ocean. I'm like in this freaking tornado of my thoughts, being like, oh, but this thing, this, and then if this happens, you got to do this. I'm like, oh, I got to come up with a plan. Okay, there's 3, and I'm like, oh, God damn it, and like,
The dishes!
I'm like thinking about this thing that happened yesterday. I'm like, oh, why did that have to happen? I'm like, this wouldn't happen if you had been smarter, Christian.
Oh my God.
Like, and I'm like, okay, and then I have to breathe. I'm like, oh wait, what am I doing right now? Okay, wash the dish. Like, it's just
Boom.
Just that advice I thought was so cool. Like, be total in every action that you do.
You know,
I
one
was like,
thing
that's
that
such good advice.
Srila Sridhar said that might be helpful to you guys, it's along this train. He says, I found it extremely helpful in my life because karma yoga is a precursor to bhakti yoga. When we get to the bhakti yoga chapter, Krishna is essentially just adding to karma yoga. But Guru Maharaj says, what is in front of you, do it perfectly. And I just love that idea. It's like the whole infinity is conspired to put this thing in front of you.
Yeah.
Now address it as perfectly as you can. And that's going to make you be total, which I kind of like that terminology. It's kind of sticking. It's going to make you be total because you have to deal with this now properly. Anyways,
It has to be relationship.
beautiful sharing. Yeah.
To do it, there must be a relationship.
Yeah.
We don't have a satisfying relationship with a dish.
Well, we have to see
No,
that
but what
that
I'm
thing has
saying-
come.
No, but
yeah.
yes, but we're seeing it's coming as a relationship with the cause of all causes. Then that satisfaction of relationship is enhancing my being in that.
Sure.
But without that, it's not actually really going to be stable.
Yeah. Well, great advice, Nani. Okay, guys, thanks so much for an amazing discussion. Incredible.
Oh, Jai Gurudev,
Okay.
Jai Guru Maharaj.
Jai Gurudev, Jai Guru Maharaj Ki Jai.
Yeah.
And Ananya, thank you for cooking. And
Yep.
we didn't hear your thoughts, but Jai, Ananya.
I have one thought.
Yeah.
I think it's a very great fortune and blessing that we do have Gurudev. We have someone that we can take shelter of, because
Yeah.
if we don't see something in ourselves, they will for sure see it in us. So if we don't know, oh, what am I supposed to be doing, they will find it in us.
Very good.
So put us
Ananya.
where we're at.
Lovely.
Very important.
Perfect.
Thank you.
So, this is just real quick. I made a comment on the live stream once, but I don't think it. I was like, "Who is Guru Dev?" But now you're saying Guru Dev. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, and it's like
Who
the
is
plural.
Dave and why is he Guru?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like,
Oh, that's a
Would you-
huge
Would you
question.
call Srila Govinda Maharaj Gurudev?
It's
Those
means
of us
teacher.
who are his disciples.
he's not the only
Deva
one you
means
would call
Lord
us.
or
Okay.
God. Like it means something divine.
Divine, right?
And
Divine
Guru
teacher.
means teacher.
Okay,
So it's
yes.
Gurudev means divine teacher.
Okay, thank you.
So we particularly call Srila Govinda Maharaj Gurudev. Those of us who he's our Gurudev, but like her guru is in Mexico.
Okay.
His name is Ashram Maharaj. He's an amazing person. So when she says Gurudev, she's talking
I
about
see.
him. But
I see.
David,
And
That's
it's
why
not
you use it in the
DAVE.
plural. Is there maybe
Regardless.
some-
Yeah.
The guru
Thank
is,
you.
And then-
guru is
Yeah,
one
it's funny because some people think
principle, but coming in many forms. Like Krishna,
Right.
when Krishna meets the conditioned soul, that meeting place is called guru.
that's an important question because some
Many
people
forms.
literally hear that because of the English name Dave.
Yeah, I thought that's what I was at
It's like,
Dave.
yeah.
That's what it was.
No, so that's exactly when people be like,
And then finally she
God.
said, and then Guru Dev will speak, and then like, I was like, is that Dave?
What?
And, like,
We
I
could
guess
say
that's it.
Guru.
And I'm like, I'm still not sure. So thank you.
Oh.
That
Like,
really,
you're
that
a guru,
helps.
is your name Dave?
No, my name's Bob,
Well, I'm looking
sir.
for Dave.
I wish you were the only person that's experienced that. It's always so funny.
It's- yeah.
I remember the first time I heard it, I was like, what? And they were like, well, is there a Guru Bob? And like,
Yeah.
I was just like, and like for me, it's like collision in my mind going on. Just like, cause it's like, when you grow up hearing the word Gurudev, you just can't imagine that it's two separate words.
Sure,
related
yeah, it
names.
just isn't even.
And so that it's really
Right.
helpful. Yeah. And then, so you're not
I'm
the
gonna
only
check
one.
I love that. I love that. divine
Bima
teaching.
Krishna Prabhu says, so happy to be with you all tonight. Dandavat.
Jai Bima
They did
Prabhu.
learn that about Steve.
And
I'm
also,
gonna check Hari Haraya because I can't, it's just quick. And you guys go take the shot.
What? You want us to check Hari Haraya?
You don't have to. You go take the shot. I mean, it's 8:45. Jai, Shri Giriraj Govardhan Ju Ki Jai, Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mission Friday evening program Ki Jai, and all the assembled devotees Ki Jai, Srimati Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Everything wonderful, Kartal Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Samaveda Vaishnava Mandala Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi.
Haribo! Shrimati Shilekita Vilasini Ki Jai, Shrimati Kishore Ki Jai, Shrimati Saraswati Prabhu Ki Jai, all the simple devotees.
Jai.
Jai.
They need that mercy too.
Bhima Krishna Prabhu Ki Jai, Diva Shakti Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai.